What's up, everybody? Welcome back into another episode of What's Up, Belly Up. I am at Zach Mack here with at M Brown O 21. Is it 21?
OH21.
Oh,
OH21.
yeah,
Yes.
M Brown O H21. Um, we finally got Mike back after a few weeks. Mike had welcomed another. I mentioned it when I had Kevin. Was it? No, it was Mark. I had Mark on. Is your 420 baby? How is the baby doing?
Yeah. He's upstairs chugging on mom right now. So we're all good. That little bastard is growing. So it's cool. The family's complete unless God grants me some kind of miracle because I was shooting blank. So we had to go through the old in vitro route. But no, things are starting to slow down a little bit. At least I can say that. Don't tell my wife because for her, she probably hates the fact that I'm down here right now recording. But good to be back. I like the from the flip side. We're making you host. Getting the juices flowing. So I'm ready to be back and hear what we got on docket for tonight.
Yeah, I'm glad you could steal away. I was running out of people that were willing to do this with me, so glad we got you back. We're gonna talk NFL tonight. We had the draft. I don't think you were here for the draft, so
No.
or at least you weren't on air. So we're gonna talk a little bit about the draft. We're gonna talk about how our lines are gonna do this year post draft. So we got that to look forward to. We're gonna start out with Tua. Came out that he was leading jersey sales. That seems like throughout all of the NFL. Like I think Tom Brady is second. I don't know if you saw this graphic or not, but
yeah. I didn't see the graphic. I heard a little bit about it. So,
do you have a Tua jersey yet?
No, but honestly, I mean, is it surprising to you? Because, and I don't even mean this. I mean, Tua, what he did, his I guess, resume in college. We knew he'd be, the injuries dropped him a little bit, but I wouldn't even say a little bit, but technically, what he did at college, resume, what people want or expecting from him in the NFL. His backing. What is he? I believe he's like Hawaiian or something like that. That's a huge close knit community. But overall, I mean, really outside of what Joey B and Chase Young, I mean, a lot of defensive jerseys don't really sell a whole lot. So I mean, quarterbacks. So I'd like to see where Burrow ranks on that list. But
I think he was four.
I'm not really.
I'm
not really surprised. And obviously, I think Tom Brady's on there because just to switch to Tampa Bay. Not that he doesn't sell jerseys, but I mean, going to a new team, New Jersey,
Even Herbert snuck in there. I think he was fifth for the Chargers. And speaking about the quarterback, you mentioned Burrow. The four that went in the first round. So Burrow went to the Bengals, Tua to the Dolphins, Herbert to the Chargers, and then Love to the Packers.
So okay, so speaking of jerseys, okay, so I haven't bought a jersey in years. The last jersey that I bought was a Stafford jersey, and I think that one I hit a home run with. Before that, I had a Calvin Johnson jersey, and I think immediately after I bought it, he retired. So I was just like, "Fuck this." So what's your last jersey? I know you got a few behind you there. Who you're rocking back there, and what's your last jersey? Any sport?
So that is my most recent jersey that I've got. The Lions one back there. It's Sam Martin. It's the only football jersey.
Yeah, and he just got dumped.
Is he really? He's gone?
He went to Denver.
Okay, so I got to burn that now. Whoever we line up back there. Actually, I don't know. We're getting a little bit better. I mean, we're going to talk about the Lions a little bit later, so maybe I wanted to get the punter. I got the punter because I'm all about the guy getting some more time. So, and he wasn't really doing a bad job. So
is that an applicator jersey or who is that?
That is an applicator jersey. He's also trash.
I love him though. I mean, I guess the potential was there, but yeah, I mean,
and he played Michigan State hockey, so
yeah. So you got the ties, but no, I mean, I obviously the new rookies they come in, nobody's bought that jersey, so I would think that they're going to be up there too, obviously. But I mean, going back? I mean, talking about Tua, and I saw something on Twitter not too long ago. I don't know how much you've really followed the Josh Rosen situation because Josh Rosen was drafted. Immediately the next year, his team took a quarterback. He left, went to Miami, was essentially going to be the man, then his team takes a quarterback. Do you feel bad for somebody like that, or is it just like, you've had your opportunity, it is what it is?
Yeah, a little bit. We alluded to that on the fantasy show. I can't remember who brought it up. It might have been Tom, but he said, it's like the most unfortunate circumstances ever for Rosen. Like he's the Rosen one, man. Like how would you feel like you go in, you get replaced, and then you get sent somewhere else, and you just like you're just so forgotten about.
That shirt, like Design Tree helped us out with that, and that shirt was so good. Like when he does finally leave Miami, I think we just rebrand that shirt with just whatever company, or I mean whatever team he goes to, just throw the new colors on it, because that shirt's so sick. But I mean, at this point, it's like, is that shirt ever going to be relevant, and is it even worth buying? Because is he ever even going to play in the NFL? I mean,
he may never chuck the pill ever again.
So I love it. A little Carter take there. Yeah. Let's see. But okay, so I got one real quick before we move on. So who do you think will make the next start first? Love or Rosen?
Talking about Jordan Love?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with Jordan Love.
Yeah, I knew you got a little man crush on Jordan Love.
Yeah, I don't know if you saw our show. I'm gonna get real with you for a second. I'm scared. Like I'm scared. I think I'm scared. The Packers went from
for the division. You're saying?
Yeah, they went from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. They drafted Rodgers 2 years before Favre was even gone. Right? We forget about Aaron Rodgers. Busts onto the scene, has this career that's destroying our division. Now what do we got? They jump up, they get Jordan Love, and everyone's like, what are they doing? It's because the Packers know what they're doing at the quarterback position. They refuse to fall behind at the quarterback position. They're doing it again. We're going to forget about Jordan Love in 2 years, and when Rodgers is out of there, Jordan Love's going to bust on the scene. I was high on this kid when he came into the draft, and I was ready to be a fan of wherever he went, and then he went to the goddamn Packers. And I'm frightened that he's going to be Lions for the next 12 years.
Yeah, I know you definitely got Love. When we were doing our fantasy draft, I remember you sending me messages saying, oh, if it comes back, Love, Love's going to be there. And that was right as I'm looking at Love. But I decided, I can't take him this round. I got to take him next round. And as soon as you said that, boom, off the board. You didn't even end up getting him. And I'm just like, you know what? There is. I think I took Austin Dillon at that pick over him in our rookie draft. So yeah, because you texted me, you're like, oh yeah, playing for right now, not the future, or something like that. Yeah, I mean, I know we're kind of all over the place, but we talk about rookie jersey sales. We talk about, like I said, it goes to Tua, it goes to Rosen. But I'm gonna have to agree with you. I think the only way the only way Rosen plays again is if somebody gets hurt, which could very well happen. But I just see Love. I don't think there's going to be any quarterback controversy this year, but it'll be very interesting after this season. Once Rodgers, especially, how good of a season Rodgers has this year, depending on what he does, to when are they really going to, I don't even know what Rodgers, I don't know how long his contract is left, but regardless, it's going to be very interesting. I know people are comparing him heavily to a Mahomes type. I didn't watch a lot of film on him. I don't know. I've seen a little bit, but does have that potential. Of course, he's in the division against our Lions, so it'll definitely be interesting to see what goes on with there.
Who of the four that were drafted in the first round? Real quick, we got Burrow, Herbert, Tua, Love. Who has the best career when it's all said and done?
I honestly think that I really think that Herbert and Tua, I'm not usually like those first few picked. I always feel like the ones that come in the later rounds that have some more years on the bench really come back and have a better career. But this year, I think it's Tua and Burrow. Burrow's in the perfect situation. AJ Green, it sounds like he's essentially going to stay, at least at this point. So you got a wide receiver. They've got a help out that line. Maybe this helps out Joe Mixon and Cincy, but Tua too. I mean, Minnesota spent tons of money this offseason. It doesn't mean anything. You know, we talk about the Lions all the time. Yeah, they look good on paper, but it doesn't mean anything. But you would think they're surrounding him with some talent. They're going to build up that line a little bit. I think Tua does have a better career over Burrow, but not by much.
That's somewhat of a hot take. I'm not sure. I mean, because obviously Tua's got injury problems, and it's there's question marks regarding how long he can last. I'm gonna say Jordan Love. Obviously, I've talked enough about how much I like Jordan Love, but I'm also interested to see how Justin Herbert. I think Justin Herbert's either going to be great, like a Stafford type quarterback, or he's just going to flop.
I think that's last I thought that was Mark's quarterback. I think he's high on him. I may be wrong, but when I was reading his draft, I thought he was pretty high on him. So okay, so then let me ask you this before we move on: does Jordan Love win a Super Bowl game, Jesus, a playoff game before Stafford?
No.
Okay, I was gonna say where we at here.
I'm not sure Stafford will win it in Detroit, but I think he'll win a playoff game soon. Moving on, though, we've been talking about quarterbacks.
Yes, I'd say.
There was this. So I saw this tweet today. Rumored, the tweet came from NBCS 49ers, NBC Sports 49ers. Reported Seahawks offered Russell Wilson back in 2018 for the Browns' first overall pick, who they eventually picked Baker Mayfield for their quarterback. Interesting to think about. You think back to like, well, what were the Seahawks trying to do? If this is a true, we're just going to assume it's true for the sake of this show. If it was a true report, what were the Seahawks trying to do? It seems like since then, Russell Wilson has played phenomenally. So if it is true, maybe it sparked something in Russell Wilson. Could you imagine Russell Wilson being a Brown?
I couldn't, and actually, I'm bringing up the tweet because it is actually NBC Sports what it came to. But if you go to the actual link, it says Seahawks Browns Russell Wilson trade would have removed 49ers' main rival, and then you go into it and it talks about it. So, I mean, I haven't, like I said, when you told me about this earlier, I hadn't seen anything about this, but basically, it just goes down and talk about that 2018 first round pick, which, like you alluded to, equated to Baker Mayfield. So, you know, it pretty much just says they offered Russell Wilson to the Browns the year that they drafted Mayfield, but I don't know how serious those discussions were. And obviously, this is from Mike Florio and Sims, you know, from those guys. I don't know how much you can believe from these guys, but NBC Sports posted it, so that's our credibility right now at this point. But you know, to me, I couldn't. I mean, obviously, you're used to seeing Russell in that. I love when I think Seahawks. I think of that lime green, that jersey. Some people just hate it. I love it, but you know, and then I look at Baker in Cleveland, and all last year we talked about, you know, when OBJ went there, you know, this is either going to be one of the best teams ever, or it's just going to be the best thing to watch because it's just going to be a shit show. Well, it ended up being a shit show, but to me, I don't know why, but I love Baker. I just love Baker, the personality, the football player. He does some good things. He does some bad things. Do I think that if Russ was there, they'd be a better team? Honestly, I don't know, because there'd have to be a lot of dominoes to fall after that. But, you know, if this was true, it was ballsy by the Browns, obviously, to say, no, we got our guy. But you talked about it off air. There ain't no way in hell that if this did go through, that the Seahawks would have taken Baker Mayfield.
Yeah, it seems almost ludicrous to be real. Like, why would you send Russell Wilson for the first overall pick? I can't imagine. I haven't gone back through the 2018 draft board, but I don't know who they would have picked that could have possibly replaced Russell Wilson for what they're trying to do. So it would be interesting. I think Russell Wilson on the Browns would automatically make the Browns a better team. It'd be interesting to think about, but it obviously doesn't matter now. Whether it was rumor or not, it's the 2018 pick. It happened, so it's not.
I think he's definitely a high IQ football type guy. Russ is. So he'd bring that to the Browns. I think obviously you're going to have less mistakes, less turnovers, but there's something about Cleveland and the hype around Baker. No matter how much that fan base is disappointed, Baker rocking out to a little Phil Collins in pregame, it just gets the crowd on their feet.
Yeah, I like what you said. I like Baker for the storylines. I don't like Baker as a player yet. I thought he was a bust. Still think he might be a bust. But I don't know. We can move on from that. It was fun little rumors to talk
Yeah,
about.
absolutely.
Post draft, how are we feeling about the Lions? I know we talked about long term. We got to struggle with the fact that Jordan Love's probably going to dominate us forever. But in the meantime, we got Jeff Okudah and then DeAndre Swift in the second round with the third pick. Do you like it? Did you like the draft?
Honestly, okay, so the way this was shaping up is, the more I heard about the second round pick, I figured Akuda. I figured that. But second round pick, I'm thinking, okay, we got some running backs on the board. Who can we take here? And then I'm thinking, okay, J.K. Dobbins is there. Are we going? Detroit seems to be have some ties with some Ohio State players. You got Taylor Decker, we drafted him a couple years ago in the first round. Are we going J.K. Dobbins? And then when they said Swift, I was like, wow, that pick kind of makes sense because at this point, then they released who's under contract for the Lions for running back, and all you had was Bo Scarborough and carry on. I think I don't even think there was anybody else at this point, but either way, so I'm thinking, okay, Bo did good last year in some mop up duties with absolutely no talent around him. Everyone was banged up, so he can be your big power back. Carry-on hasn't, as much as I love Carry-on hasn't. He's shown flashes. He can break, but he hasn't stayed healthy all season. And Swift's never been a 300 carry back. Grant in college is a lot different than the pros, but I think there's a good opportunity between these two because and I'm going to compare this to the Blount days, the Blount year. Blount just looked tired. He couldn't get the 1 yard. We essentially had him for the goal line, stuff like that. Where I think Scarborough could really come in and be that change of pace where we can really wear them down to with Swift and carry on. I would like to see a more balanced offense. We say it all the time. I love Stafford. The reason I love Stafford, not to get away from what we're talking about, the reason I love Stafford is because exactly what is going to happen from the Detroit Lions, and he's a gunslinger, and he still can make it happen. Damn well they're going to throw the ball every time, at least 60, 70% of the time, and he's still able to do it. If he's with it, could you imagine, granted, this is a different pedigree, but could flip the switch. Could you imagine him with the New England Patriots? Could you imagine him with, even like the Colts or somebody? Like, I'm not saying they're a great team, but like, I just feel like, as we talk about, Detroit is just wasted talent. I would love to see them put one together. But overall draft, before I go on this long tangent that I've already started, I was skeptical at first, but I really like looking at it on paper. I even like the old brother pick there, Oakwa, or I don't even know how you pronounce her name, but they're talking he's like the poor man's Cliff Averill. So very excited about this year. I always drink my blue Kool-Aid at this point in the season, and then about halfway through the first game, I turn off the TV, and very rarely do I tune into any more Lions games. So we'll see. So how do you feel? Did you like the Okuda pick at 1? Did you expect that? And was the Swift pick at 2 more kind of a head scratcher? Or did you like that?
I think the Lions finally gave the fans, a draft that they wanted.
A good, yeah.
Yeah, we got a good pick, so that helps. But I'm liking the pick. I wasn't before we picked. I kind of wanted Tua for the flashiness or Simmons just because I liked his versatility. But I'm settled. I like the Okuda. It filled a big hole that with Slay gone, especially that I think the Lions needed to address. So. And I just hope that he doesn't get burnt. I just hope he's a good corner. But Swift was the more important pick for me. I think, and my brother was talking about it. We were going into day 2 for the draft, and he's like, Swift is still on the board. If he falls to 3, we got to take him. We took him. I think it might be an opening into the Lions spreading the ball out more, and we've, as fans, have been so sick of the dink and dunk and screen game forever. And they finally get rid of Jim Bob Cooter. Stafford's throwing the ball down the field last year before he gets hurt. Coming back now, we got Kerryon and Swift in the backfield. Whether they're going to compete or split time, I think both of them could spread the ball out more. I think Swift was underutilized in college. And I think he's got a high ceiling, but I'm with you. I'm drinking the Kool-Aid. I don't usually drink the Kool-Aid, but I'm there this year. I liked the draft. I like what we're building. It's all about it's a big test year for Patricia, especially amongst the fans. I think people are like, you got to show.
I mean, it's not even a test year; it's a make or break it.
Yeah. What do you think he's got to do? Go over 500? Or is he got to get 10 wins? Or is he got to make the playoffs?
I think we got to go. Well, is this year when it goes into we got the extra games this year? Does it automatically go into play this year?
I can't remember if it's this year or the next year.
If it's this year, then I think you definitely have to win 10 games because the way our division just beats up on each other. I mean, look at last year. I mean, a 500 team could have made the playoffs last year in our division the way it worked out. But I think you got to have 10 wins. You got to have 10 wins. So that means you play Chicago 2 times, you play Green Bay 2 times, you play the Vikings 2 times. Chicago, even with Big Dick Nick now all Foles there and Trubisky, them not picking up his last year contract, they still have a great defense. But for some reason, and it burned me last year. I said, there's no way that we're going to lose to the Bears, but we did. We fucking lost to everybody. I get it. But there's that division is competitive. It's the same as baseball in the AL Central. It doesn't mean the division is good, but it's competitive, And I think we've got to at least win 10 games for Quinn and Patricia. I mean, ideally we have to go to the playoffs. There's got to be some kind of building off of last year and going 3-13 or however it was. I think you can't not be excited for the season. Based off of where we were last year.
So I got to fill in the blank for you. Fill in the blank. Wait, so the Lions' schedule starts Chicago, Green Bay, Arizona, New Orleans.
We got boned this year in the schedule. The schedule sucks.
Yeah, so
for Detroit, it sucks.
Our first 5 weeks are Chicago, Green Bay, Arizona, New Orleans, bye week. So fill in the blank. The Lions start 0 and blank, then Matt Patricia is on the hot seat.
So you start where we start? We start with who? Who do you got?
Chicago, Green Bay, then Arizona, then New Orleans.
Oh and 3, 0-2. You're gonna hear grumblings. 0-3 for sure. Chicago, you got to beat them. Green Bay, we've beat up Rodgers the past couple of years. We've shown we can take him. We've got a good game plan for him. There's absolutely no weapons there that scary outside of Devontae Adams, which he's still going to have 200 yards against us. That's just how it works. But 0-2, there's grumblings. 0-3, there's a very real skepticism going into week 4 that he may not make it out alive.
Yeah, that's a good point because especially with the bye being at week 5, if you go 0-3 and we're playing the Saints, you're probably not. I mean, it's at home, but you're probably not very confident in that, and it does put Patricia on the hot seat. I agree with you because at that point you're like, well, if we lose to the Saints, we're 0-4. Going into the bye, we might as well get ready. We got 2 weeks to replace you because we got a bye week coming up.
The thing that's
do that in the middle of the season, but
the thing that's scary but good on the flip side good for Patricia because he's got his guys around him. He's finally got everybody in that he wants as far as coaching staff. He's getting his position players. He's got Jamie Collins. I mean, obviously everybody's joke. It's the New England Patriots 2.0 that are just kind of washed up. So he's got his players. He's got his style is what he's drafted. His style is what he's brought in. So you've got that. But the bad thing is if we lose and he gets fired, this is another complete blow it up. It's all over. It's going to take another 5 to 10 years because this is all his staff that's finally here. This is all his players that's finally here. Somebody's going to come in and change it, and it's just going to be another mess. So hope has never landed in Detroit for us sports fans. and it's definitely never come through the Lions. And it's sad to say that the Detroit Lions are the only Detroit sports team hope at this point, because you can contest for the Wings. Maybe the Young Guns, you got a little hope there, and Stevie Y, we've talked about that before, but the Pistons, it's probably good the NBA season got cut short. The Tigers, we were talking about it off air. Outside of Miggy, I don't even know who the hell's on the roster. So it's weird. I feel like the Lions are the make or break team this year, and that scares the shit out of me.
I think on the flip side, if we are going to look at this schedule with hope, like you mentioned, we've got Chicago and Green Bay, 1 and 2, like you mentioned. If we beat those two teams and we're 2-0, going
in
into
the division,
Arizona,
you're sitting pretty.
Yeah, but yeah, plus those are division wins. You're going into Arizona. You're feeling pretty confident about that because you're like, we're 2-0. We're playing in Arizona. Let's just not get out of here with a tie, basically. And then you're 3-0 going into New Orleans. Or you're coming home for New Orleans. And then I think either way, like as a Lions fan, I mean, obviously you want to win that going into the bye 4-0. But either way, you're like, even if we lose this, like we're supposed to lose to the Saints. We go into our bye week. We're 3-1. Probably sitting good. I mean, those first 4 weeks, having the bye at week 5 is so tough because obviously the rest is out of the way early, but it could be those first 4 games are gonna be huge.
So say you're going to the bye 4-0. I mean, we've seen this from the Lions before. You're sitting 4-0, you go into the bye, you come out of that bye, you're rolling, and then how many games after that? Say we just put a run together where we just tank it like the typical Lions. So you're 4-0, we lose 3, we lose 4, we lose 5. When at that point on the flip side, do you start to draw concern, or are you 4-4 and you're okay with that?
I think it's a major concern because it's as tough as those first 4 games can look. I mean, 2 division games plus the Saints, Arizona, maybe you're like, but after the bye, you got Jacksonville, Atlanta, Indianapolis. Like that should probably be win-win.
Yes, Atlanta's a hot mess. As much as on paper you see athletic. I mean, I love Matt Ryan. I love Julio. I love Calvin Ridley. I know Hooper's not there anymore, which is crazy. He went to the Browns, but it's I mean, I know Gurley went there, so they're kind of reloaded again. And it seems like Atlanta's always a great fantasy football team. But, I mean, to me, I just feel like that should be a win. I feel like after the bye, you're sitting pretty. So I think going into the bye 2-2, you're all right. Because after the bye, you should rip off 3 in a row. At that point, you're 5-2. You're sitting good. But, there's so many variables. That's the great thing about sports. It'll be very interesting to see what happens. We've got this whole dispute going on with NBA players not wanting to come back in play because of coronavirus, which I get. There's so much going on in sports that I feel like everybody's numb at this point. You're working from home. Certain people are actually going to work. It's just very surreal. Like, you're from Michigan. Like, I don't know how your family feels, but when I go to work, I turn on the radio, and being in Ohio, I do listen to a Michigan radio station, but it's broadcasting in Ohio. And I know I'm taking a turn here, but they had the old Governor Gretchen on today, and it's just crazy. I mean, everything that's happened, whether you believe it or not, it's serious. People have died from it, but when does life go on? When does sports happen? Honestly, it's very scary to me because I think sports will happen, but there's a very real possibility that we're 2 full years from being able to ever go to a sporting event again in a group setting.
Yeah, because the problem is if they're going to start letting people go back into society, basically, and numbers start to go up again, then we're screwed. I mean, especially for sports.
So okay, how perfect would this be? This is the year the Detroit Lions make a run. This is the year the Detroit Lions make a playoff push and potentially make it to the Super Bowl, and there's not a single person in the goddamn stands.
I can't. I mean, I would still. I would still take it.
Go home for it
I
and
would.
park.
I would still take it, but God, yeah, that would be. It's kind of like if a tree falls in the forest and no one's around, does it make a sound? It's like if the Lions won a Super Bowl but nobody was there to watch it, did they really win a Super Bowl?
That's what I'm saying. It's the perfect scenario.
You have to put an asterisk in the history
Is there
books.
an
Like,
asterisk? I was just gonna say, is there an asterisk? Nobody was actually there to see it. So and based off the Lions and Detroit sports, somehow the Super Bowl would get blacked out in your city.
Yeah, and even then, like, even if Detroit fans wanted to use it, like, I picture Twitter arguments like 2 years down the road after the Lions have won the Super Bowl, nobody was there, and they're like, "Yeah, well, we got a ring now," and everyone's like, "Yeah, well, nobody was there to fucking see it." So.
Shit! It's. I feel like we should just turn this whole show into just talking about how much we hate Detroit sports, but it fuels us.
It's such a shame. If we did this show 10 years ago, we'd be like sounding like
Boston.
every Boston fan in the world.
Like we're from Boston, yeah. But it's how quickly you get hit, you knock off your pedestal. Actually, that I know you got into it and you said it was a little slow, but that Jordan documentary, those first few episodes, man, highlighted the bad boys, the Pistons, and that just kind of gave me chills. Maybe bring me back to the old days.
Yeah, I was watching a different show that comes out Sunday night, so I haven't caught any of it yet, which is a damn shame. I need to watch it, but
I'm sure you're just catching up on Twitter. It's all good.
Yeah. That wraps up our NFL talk. Do you have a round table? We'll do a little round table. Do you have a topic that's been burned in at all? Or I'll go first. I'll just touch on hockey. The AHL shut down. We're all wondering now, is the NHL going to follow suit? Obviously, a little more money in the NHL, so they're probably going to try to keep it open a little bit longer, but they're talking about some weird-ass playoff format.
I was just going to say, okay, so my round, I'll go into this because you're knowledgeable on it. So they're talking like real life right now where we're at in the season. They're done, right? Hockey's done. Like if full season, Stanley Cup, everything's already come through, right?
It would be close. I think it would be.
I'd say we're right about it.
Would be right up coming maybe next week or something like that. I think it would be close.
And they were essentially talking like, okay, we'll start back up like June, July. Like, is this like a second season, or are they just gonna finish the game? I mean, I know sports. I mean, that's what it is. They can, they're going to drag it out. Like you said, the NHL is a lot different than anything else. So if they did come back, I mean, they would essentially. I don't even remember where were we at. I mean, we were just how many games would essentially be ref ballpark?
So, each team had about 10 to 12 games left, I think.
Okay, so it wouldn't be a huge ordeal to come back, but then you get back into playoff hockey. Honestly, one of the best, whether you like hockey or not, one of the best sporting events ever is playoff hockey. So to see that, to have that, I think that would just – I mean, honestly, we're talking about, like sales and retail and stuff like that, like are through the roof because people were cooped up in houses for days and days and days, weeks and weeks and weeks. Could you imagine when a sporting event finally comes back, especially if it's hockey, one of the first ones, because NBA is very, very – the players are, like I said, are very reluctant to come back. Could you imagine if hockey came back, like what that would do for the sport? I mean, viewership and stuff like that.
That is such a good point. I mean, if you think if playoff hockey was the first sport to come back and was the first thing on TV,
one of the greatest things.
It would do wonders for the sport. You're absolutely right. I think that's insane to think about because I hadn't considered that. But yeah, I mean, and they're talking about going straight into the playoff. I mean, either way you slice it, someone's going to have a gripe. Either you don't play the rest of the season and the teams that had like 12 games left are throwing a fit versus the teams that had 10 games left because they didn't play as many games. Or you're like, you got to play games and people are pissed about that because you're wasting time and you could just go straight into the playoffs. So they've been talking about 2014 playoffs. I don't really know. The raw product of watching playoff hockey, like you mentioned, I think is important. Like we should probably get that, but I think either way you slice it to get there is going to make somebody mad. So I don't know how. I don't care. To be honest with you, I don't care how they do it. I was throwing fits about. I just want them to put an asterisk next to it. Honestly, is all I want them to do. I still want to watch playoff hockey, but I want them to put an asterisk in so we know in
say
history.
what it is. So
Yeah, but
I think there's definitely it'll be interesting to see what all the big sporting companies do per se. Is there like basketball? I mean, you don't just crown the best record. So at this point, if we ended the season, does it just go from 2019 to the 2021 championship? There's no 2020. It'll be very interesting. I feel like of all sporting events that didn't need to luck out, the NFL lucked out because they're the ones that always lead the way in money, viewership stuff. They're in their off season, so to them it doesn't matter. But you got these other sports that are continuously trying to grow. We talk about hockey. I don't think they're struggling to. Oh, well, I mean, to an extent. I mean, you're talking an international sport. I think there can be a lot more to it, but like I said, once you get into hockey playoffs, there's just nothing like it. And I don't have anything as far as the round table, but just thinking about that, it makes my nipples hard. So
yeah, it's very interesting to think about. Well, you could take us out in the outro and do all of our plugs that we need to do. I don't know.
I don't have any plugs now. I feel like I've been out of the game for a little bit. I got a little one, but I appreciate you hanging in there and keeping things afloat while I was gone. So, like I said, we'll anoint you the new chief until you mess up. So I'm good with it. But on behalf of myself at mbrown0h21, like the old Zach Mack said. And what do you got? You can give your at Zach. What do you got?
Yep, at it's Zach Mack and at Puck Pass Pod live on Wednesdays.
Zach Mack. Yep. Check out at Puck Pass Pod Wednesdays. What do you got? 7:30.
7:30 tomorrow. We're doing Warzone and Healthy Scratches. It's a new segment.
Yeah, get a little plug there. I'm looking forward to this. These guys are definitely without sports doing what they can to entertain and make things relevant. So tune in on their stream tomorrow night. Very excited to see what a lot of these people with Belly Up are doing live. So it's really cool. Tune in, support them. They had what'd you guys play last night or last week? I don't even. I watched the whole damn thing. Yeah, Rocket League. Yeah, they chatted up. They got the notifications on. They'll take questions. Last week we took questions, stuff like that. So really excited to see what these guys got going on, and who knows when hockey comes back, maybe we'll have a little hockey debate. So, but on behalf of Zach Mack, myself, Puck Pass, I appreciate you guys tuning in. Thanks for letting Zach run the show here. We'll have to do it more often.
See you guys
later.